Smells like children. Hi, Marilyn. Hi. So, first off, I was going through your file. Did you know you have a file here at the station? And
you mean I'm in trouble?
No, you're not in trouble. Every band has a file. But there was a press release from your record company that says, nudity, self-mutilation, chickens, arrests, spitting. See them now before they're in jail, dead, or the biggest rock band in America. And I'm wondering, like, what is it shock value? Is it deep meaning? Is it science project? What motivates your work?
It's a little bit of everything. I like to experiment with people's fears, see what motivates them, what scares them. And at the same time, I also sometimes mock the whole sensationalism of it all anyways. Sometimes it seems like I'm trying to be shocking, but I'm mocking the fact that people take it so shocking. Shock point's never been the point. It's just sometimes easier to get things across to people if you say it in a way that gets their attention more than something else would.
Yeah. So you sort of intentionally bring it way over the top. So play with it, play with the image. Yeah. And the embodiment of fears, or trying to face your fears through what you do. And in a way, if you embody your fear, you almost have some sort of control over your fears.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way that I've always overcome things that terrified me, by becoming them. And you know, hopefully, if people who like our music can learn from that, maybe I shared something with them that means something to them. You know, that's the most that I can try and do, is to make people think.
And confront stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. What is, like, your biggest fear?
Of myself, I guess. Fear of losing control. Because I like so many times to put myself very close to chaos, but that makes me appreciate control even more.
Do you feel like you've got control over the chaos, or is it just an attempt at it?
That's an everyday battle, you know, which makes life worth living. If it wasn't that way, it would be pretty boring.
I was reading somewhere you believe in the idea of survival of the fittest and social Darwinism, about being strong. How the idea that society tries to take care of the weak, is that a pointless pursuit?
I just think it's something that people need to think about more. In America, through the part of Christianity, we're raised to love everybody, and I think when you love everyone, that really depreciates the value of love. You know, the things that I love, I would die for, and I care deeply for, but I couldn't say that I loved everything, or it would have no value. And the same thing goes for hate.
If it was all hate, there would be...
Sure.
You need the cosmos.
You need it all.
Yeah. Sort of a Taoist idea.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. You cover Patti Smith's Rock and Roll Nigger. Why did you do that?
I thought it was a song that nobody else was brave enough to cover these days. Because of political correctness, people are terrified of using a word like that, but I thought, hopefully in the same way that she did when she was writing it, it demystifies it and makes it not such a bad thing. And at the same time, the song talks about being on the outside of society and not wanting to be a part of what everybody else is trying to make you fit into. And that's something I think everybody here can relate to.
So you felt pretty marginalized throughout your whole life?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel on some level that you have, you're from a privileged position? Because somebody would, like, say, for example, if you have Alzheimer's, you just can't control how you are, and you're really marginalized.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
So in a way, so all of us here come from a fairly privileged place.
Yeah, I mean, I can only think about the way that I live my life. I can't try and put myself in someone else's position.
You come from Florida, and that's one of the most conservative states in America. Do you think that has anything to do with your work? Trying to go against that sort of censorship?
Florida's, you know, got a great responsibility in why I exist the way I do, because It's a state where it's very sunny. Everyone's having a good time and going to the beach and tourists. And if you're smart enough to realize that life's not just about that, you're going to build up some resentment. And the way that I put that to good use is by making music. Some other people may, take it out in a different way, and that's where you end up with Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy and people like that. But I think there's no real difference between artists and killers. I think that's the way that they're expressing their art. It's not necessarily the right way, but they weren't lucky enough to figure out a good avenue like people like us have.
Are your parents very supportive of your work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a strange way.
They think it's cool that you're famous or something like that? Or?
No, I don't know if they understand everything that I say, but I think they probably feel responsible for the way I've turned out, so they have no choice but to like it.
Support you.
Yeah, so they've always been understanding, I went to a private Christian school, but...
Is that right, eh?
My parents weren't very religious. They just wanted me to get a good education, but unfortunately I got all the baggage that came along with that.
Yeah, because you probably interpreted it your own way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there room for subtlety in your work? Because it seems very, very, like, your performance is very big.
I'm always recreating, and I think Smells Like Children's more subtle than our first record. People were expecting something very shocking, and for me, something shocking was to do a cover of Sweet Dreams, because it's not what anyone would have wanted me to do. And I think with our new record that we're working on now, it's subtle in more ways, but the message is more powerful, maybe less offensive on the surface.
What do you think the message is? If there is one that you could...
Everybody's going to pick their own, but I think I like to tell people the way I see the world, and if they can learn something from it, then that makes a difference. But I think the bottom line would be to be what you want to be, and don't try and fit into something that everyone else wants you to be. The world is as much as you want to make it, and if you want to make it your way, that's the way you should make it.
Are you ever aggravated at misinterpretations of your work?
No, because confusion is also a great form of communication. So at least if they're talking about it, that's important.
Trent Reznor produced the album, and also Vancouver's David Ogilvy did some remixes. He did a lot of work with Skinny Puppy.
Yeah.
Are you a big fan of Skinny Puppy? Or what are your musical favorites?
The stuff I'm listening to now, I went to the Pulp show last night.
Oh, you did?
Which most people didn't expect. But I kind of liked it. It wasn't so bad.
Yeah. Alice Cooper?
Yeah, Stooges, Ziggy Stardust, Black Sabbath.
And all the people that you cover, their material.
Yeah.
Like Screaming Jay and Patti Smith.
Yes, definitely.
And, it's really, it's neat sitting here talking to you, because I was expecting somebody that was way more sort of in your face, and you're very grounded and well-spoken.
There's a time and a place for everything, I think.
Yeah.
You need to communicate in different ways at different circumstances, and I don't think it would be appropriate for me to throw around stools and break things right now.
And you've had a lot of influence over your fans, over the way they dress and so forth, and you're really looking, you have a different attire today, nice suit. Is it a different, are you going in a different direction, image-wise?
Well, I just wouldn't want to be predictable.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you have the band has a real sort of androgynous quality. It seems like they're very in touch with both female and male sides.
Yeah, I think it's part of getting across the point of Marilyn Manson and the dichotomy and of that extreme positive and extreme negative that can go into, sexual imagery also. I think it's too boring to have things spelled out plainly. I think the more options you have, the more exciting life can be for you overall.
And more possibilities.
Sure.
Yeah. Your album, you have a lot of different soundscapes throughout the album, and in particular, the one that really had me listening was may cause discoloration of the urine or feces. And that was basically a conversation, a telephone conversation between two people, mother and a daughter, about the prescription drugs that the mother should take.
Right.
Where did you get that? And
That's my family.
is it your family?
Yeah.
Is it your grandma and your mom?
Yeah, because Smells Like Children, it was a study of abuse of all sorts, you know, dealing with the abuse that I, experienced as a kid, the abuse that I see, the abuse that I give, the abuse in relationships, the abuse of drugs, just everything in general. And that was one thing that I thought also added another dimension to, where I come from. That's what my family's like. So I thought, that might make people understand.
Yeah. So where did you come from? What was your family? Is it?
My family is very strange because my parents are still married.
Oh yeah, that is strange.
Other than that, I think I had a pretty normal household in Ohio. I grew up, and it was very Midwestern. So that was the type of values that I was taught.
Do you think your grandmother's for the better with all the drugs, the prescription drugs that are coursing through her system, or do you?
No. She just doesn't seem like the same person. So and that helps me to evaluate myself when I think about the things that I do in my life and stuff. Because I can go from times where I'll experiment with anything, and then I go over times like today where I feel completely grounded. And sometimes, when your whole life is so chaotic, when it's in control, it's sometimes more interesting than when it's chaotic. Like a lot of people will say, when they've been doing drugs all their life, if they're sober, they feel more screwed up than they were when they were on drugs. The same thing kind of applies.